Long ago, across the stars, a black crystal was discovered on a dead world. It didn't shine. It didn't glow. But when the first alien touched it, everything around him vanished. Not exploded, just gone. No sound, no light, just nothing. That was the beginning. Soon, stories spread across the galaxy. Ships disappeared. Planets turned silent. Civilizations that tried to study the crystal were wiped out. The galaxy gave it a name, Voidglass, and they made a law. No one was to ever go near it again. For thousands of years, every species obeyed. Scientists refused to research it. Explorers ran away if they even sensed it nearby. The black crystal became legend. It was not just feared, it was hated. The few who survived said the material was alive, like it could feel, like it watched. No one knew where it came from. Some said it was left behind by a dead god. Others believed it was the weapon that ended an ancient war. But no one dared to find out the truth. They all agreed on one thing. Voidglass was death. But then, something changed. A small alien station near the edge of the Orion Arm picked up strange signals. Strong, clean signals, coming from a human ship. It wasn't strange that humans were exploring space. They had only recently joined the galactic stage. What shocked the aliens was what the humans were carrying. The energy signature was old, dangerous, and impossible to miss. It was Voidglass. The alien station sent a quiet alert to the Galactic Council. This was serious. A scout team of 3 was sent to Earth's sector. They were small, fast, and skilled in stealth. Their mission was clear: observe the humans, confirm the presence of Voidglass, and return without being seen. The team arrived near a human research base floating above a barren moon. The base looked simple: metallic walls, solar panels, nothing unusual. But the moment they activated their scanners, the readings shocked them. The entire base was powered by Voidglass. Its signal was everywhere. The scout leader froze. His hands shook. This much Voidglass should have torn a hole through space, but it hadn't. He whispered into the comm, "They're not just studying it. They're using it." The other scouts didn't believe it until they saw the humans up close. Through their cloaking tech, they moved silently through the outer edges of the base. Inside, human scientists were laughing, walking casually, holding devices made of dark, shimmering black. One man had a bracelet of Voidglass. Another woman sat in a chair with glowing black panels around her. The scouts stared in horror. These humans were not scared. They were relaxed, comfortable. One human walked past, holding a steaming cup. His friend asked, "New mug?" "Yeah," he replied with a grin. "Voidglass keeps the heat in forever." The scouts couldn't breathe. These people were insane. They had taken the most dangerous material in the universe and turned it into a coffee mug. Back on their ship, the scouts argued. One wanted to leave immediately and warn the council. Another wanted to send a message for backup. But the third, the youngest, was too curious. "What if they've tamed it?" he asked. The others stared at him like he'd lost his mind. But deep down, they were thinking the same thing. Before they left, they recorded everything. Energy readings, human activity, even voice logs. They needed proof. No one in the council would believe them otherwise. As their ship jumped away into deep space, one human scientist looked up from his work. He turned to his assistant and asked, "Did you feel that?" "Feel what?" she replied. "I thought I felt." "Eyes on us," he said, frowning. The assistant laughed. "You've been working too hard. Get some rest." But the scientist kept looking at the stars, eyes narrowed. Far away, the scout ship raced toward the Galactic Council. In the back of the ship, the recorded video played on a loop, the image of a human calmly holding a Voidglass mug. In that moment, the scouts understood something very clearly. This wasn't a mistake. Humanity wasn't testing the material. They were familiar with it. They had no fear. They were using it like it was plastic or metal. The message they carried was not just a warning. It was a question, a terrifying one. What kind of species looks at the most feared material in the galaxy and decides to build with it? And more importantly, what will they build next? The Council would need to act fast, because if the humans had truly mastered void glass, then the galaxy was standing at the edge of a storm, and no one, not even the most powerful empires, could guess what would happen when that storm was unleashed. The scout ship returned to the Galactic Council in silence. No one on board spoke. The images they had recorded said everything. Humans were using void glass. Not carefully, not in secret. They were using it like it was normal, common, safe. The moment they landed, they handed over the footage. The council gathered in the Great Hall. Tall, shining walls made from metals older than most stars. Leaders from over 30 species stood around a glowing map of the galaxy. When the footage played, silence filled the room. One alien leader whispered, "It can't be." The video showed humans walking through a base powered completely by void glass. One man touched a control panel, a panel made from the feared black crystal, and nothing bad happened. No explosion, no death. He just pressed a button, and music started playing. Another clip showed a human scientist cutting a block of void glass with a small tool. His assistant yawned in the background. They were not scared. They were bored. Then came the last video. A man lifting a black coffee mug, steam rising, and saying, "Void glass keeps my drink hot for hours. Best invention ever." The council members looked at each other, nervous. Most had never seen void glass. Some had seen it only once, and lost everything. One leader, a red-scaled reptilian named Threxon, stood up and said, "This is not possible. They should all be dead." Another leader, a pale, thin creature with 6 eyes, replied, "But they're not. They're alive. And more than that, they understand it." The council ordered silence. A full investigation would begin. But in secret, the humans could not know they were being watched. If they were truly using void glass, then the galaxy needed answers, quickly. Meanwhile, back on Earth, inside a hidden lab under a snowy mountain, scientists worked day and night. Their project, void glass weapon testing, Phase 7. Dr. Elaine Kerr stood in front of a floating orb of pure black crystal. Her team watched from behind thick glass. She pressed a button, and a beam of light hit the crystal. The orb absorbed it instantly. "Stable," she said. "No decay. No feedback. We're good." Her assistant raised an eyebrow. "You sure? That's the 5th time today." Elaine smiled. "Void glass is stronger than we thought. It doesn't just resist damage, it learns from it." In the corner of the lab, a massive machine stood covered in a silver sheet. A warning sign flashed. "Do note APPUROACH WKN EK. This was Earth's first void glass-powered weapon. Still a prototype, still a secret, but nearly ready. Outside, military officers watched from screens. One general turned to his aide. "When this thing is finished, no one will be able to touch us." The aide asked quietly, "Do the others know what we're building?" The general shook his head. "No, and we'll keep it that way." But not everything was hidden. In a civilian factory on Mars, engineers were already producing small void glass items. Tools, batteries, shields. A young technician joked, "It's funny. The whole galaxy's scared of this stuff, and we're making frying pans out of it." His coworker laughed. "Next, we'll have void glass umbrellas." They didn't know that alien eyes were already watching. A second scout team had been sent by the council, this time more careful, more advanced. They landed near Mars, cloaked and silent. What they saw shook them even more than the first team. Human children playing with toys that glowed with soft black light. A shop selling jewelry made from void glass. And in a museum, a glass box labeled, "Void glass sample, gifted by Lunar Research Center." The aliens couldn't believe it. This wasn't fear. This was pride. One of the scouts whispered, "They're spreading it." The leader nodded. "They're not just using it. They're building their future with it." Back at the council, the second report caused panic. A few species wanted to attack. Now, before it was too late. But others warned that if humans had already made weapons with void glass, attacking them might mean total destruction. A quiet voice spoke from the back. It was Elder Sorith, the oldest living member of the council. She had seen void glass before, long ago, in a war that no one talked about. She said they do not fear it because they were born in struggle. Fire, ice, war, and pain. They shaped the humans. And now they've shaped voidless. Someone asked, "What should we do?" Sorith answered, "Watch them. Learn. But do not anger them. Not yet." And so, across the galaxy, eyes turned toward Earth, toward the species that had taken the galaxy's greatest fear and turned it into a toy, a tool, a teacup. What the galaxy didn't know was that humans were not done. They were just getting started. The Galactic Council met again. This time, the room felt different, heavier, as if the air itself was afraid. Holograms of human technology floated in the center, ships powered by void glass, weapons charged by it, and worst of all, humans laughing while using it. The council leaders stood in a circle. Over 50 species were present. Some floated, some slithered, some had wings or tentacles, but all had one thing in common: fear. A voice spoke. It belonged to Chancellor Virex of the Yilari Empire. He pointed at the images and said, "This is madness. They are too dangerous. We must act now. Destroy them before they destroy us." Others nodded. Whispers filled the hall. What if they lose control? What if voidglass spreads? What if they already have more than we think? A calm voice responded. It was from a bird-like being named Colin, leader of a peaceful alliance. "We cannot strike first. They may not be our enemies." Virex laughed. "Not our enemies. They are playing with a weapon that destroyed worlds. They drink coffee from it." Another leader stood, an insectoid creature with glowing eyes. "They don't even know the danger. They're like children holding a black hole in their hands." A heavy silence followed. Then the oldest member, Elder Sorith, stepped forward once again. Her voice was slow but powerful. "We all remember the last time voidglass was touched. Entire star systems died. But this time, something is different. Humanity did not find voidglass by accident. They survived it. They studied it. And they changed it." Someone asked, "But how?" "No one else has been able to." Elder Sorith looked at the floating images. "Because humans do not fear pain. They adapt. They suffer, and they grow stronger. Perhaps voidglass chose them." The idea spread through the room like cold wind. A few laughed nervously. Others stayed silent. Could voidglass choose? Was it alive? No one knew. But the fear was real. Then came a decision. A secret one. The council agreed to send a war fleet, not to attack, but to prepare. Their goal was to surround Earth's sector quietly. Just in case, if humans became a threat, the fleet would strike fast and hard. But someone had other plans. On a small moon called Taraxis, hidden far from the council's eyes, a rogue group of warlords met. They were not part of the council. They didn't care about peace. They wanted power. They had seen the footage. They had heard the stories. And they were angry. One of them, a tall, armored brute named Gorik, slammed his fist on the table. "They play with what we fear. They must be crushed." Another, a shadowy being with red eyes, said, "No warnings, no messages. We strike now." In secret, they prepared a fleet of 20 ships. Fast, silent, armed with weapons built for one thing: vaporizing anything that moved. Their target, Earth's voidglass research base on the lunar surface. Meanwhile, On the moon base, Dr. Elaine Kerr worked late. She didn't know war was coming. She was trying to solve a different problem. One of her Voigtlass engines had begun reacting strangely, pulsing in a pattern, almost like it was talking. She stared at the readings. The engine was not failing. It was communicating. But with what? Before she could find out, alarms screamed. "Unknown ships detected," shouted a voice over the intercom. "Incoming at high speed." The base shook as the first blast hit the surface. Outside, flashes of light lit the sky. Earth's defense grid activated, but it was too late. The rogue fleet had arrived. Elaine ran to the control room. Screens showed enemy ships firing from orbit. A direct hit destroyed one of the labs. Panic filled the base. Then, something strange happened. The main Voigtlass core in the center of the base began to glow. Not red, not blue, but a deep, endless black. The lights dimmed. The floor vibrated. And the machines began to move on their own. One soldier yelled, "The core is active." But we didn't turn it on. The black energy spread across the base like a wave. Doors closed. Walls reshaped. Guns powered up without being touched. It was as if the base itself had woken up. Outside, the enemy ships tried to fire again, but their weapons failed. The energy from the Voigtlass base reached into space, silently disabling them. One by one, the ships lost control. Engines shut down. Systems froze. Inside the lead enemy ship, Korik screamed, "What is this?" A human voice answered over the radio. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice was calm, cold, final. Then the enemy fleet vanished. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone. In the council's chamber, a warning light flashed. A report came in. The rogue fleet had disappeared. No trace, no wreckage, nothing. Elder Sorith stood again, her eyes closed. "They warned us. Now we see the truth." Someone whispered, "What truth?" Sorith opened her eyes. "Voigtlass is not a weapon. It is a key, and the humans have opened a door we cannot close." The room was silent. Far away on Earth, Dr. Elaine watched the core slowly power down. The strange pulse had stopped, but now she knew something for sure. They were not alone anymore. Voigtlass had answered, and it had chosen humanity. After the attack, the moon base was silent, not because it was damaged, but because everyone was afraid of what had just happened. 20 enemy ships had attacked without warning, and yet they were gone in seconds. Not destroyed, just erased, like they were never there. Dr. Elaine Kerr stood in the control room, staring at the Voigtlass core. It no longer glowed, but it still felt alive. No one had touched it, yet it had defended them. Automatically, intelligently. "Did we command it?" asked her assistant, voice trembling. Elaine shook her head slowly. "No, we didn't do anything. It acted on its own." The military arrived within hours. Earth's top generals, scientists, and leaders met at the moon base. The footage of the attack was shown again and again. One thing was clear. Voigtlass responded with purpose. It sensed danger. It chose to protect. And it did so without input from humans. A general asked the question on everyone's mind. "Is it alive?" Elaine responded carefully. "Maybe not in the way we understand life, but it learns. It reacts. And now, it's starting to think." The leaders fell silent. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council received the same footage. The Council was shocked, but also terrified. This time, it wasn't just about humans using Voigtlass. It was about Voigtlass responding to humans, acting like their guardian. Colin, the bird-like diplomat, said, "It is choosing them." Virex of the Yalarity slammed his fist. "Then we are too late. We must destroy it now, before it spreads." But Elder Sorith raised a hand. "No, we must understand it. If we attack again, Voigtlass may not only defend them, it may attack us. A council argued for hours, but finally agreed to a risky plan. They would send a single ambassador to Earth, alone, not a soldier, not a spy, a diplomat, someone who could speak, listen, and learn. The goal was not to stop the humans, but to find out why Voidless listened to them. The ambassador chosen was from a peaceful species called the Silari, beings of light and memory. Her name was Ivra, calm, wise, trusted by all. She traveled to Earth under a white flag signal. Humans welcomed her cautiously but politely. Ivra was taken to the United Earth Assembly, a circular room high above the Atlantic Ocean. There she met with Earth's leaders and Dr. Elaine Kerr. Ivra's voice was soft but clear. "We do not come to threaten. We come to understand. Please, tell us how this began." Elaine looked at her, unsure. Could she explain something even humans barely understood? She took a breath and began. It started 10 years ago. An asteroid was discovered outside Neptune's orbit. Inside was a strange black crystal. When we touched it, nothing happened. No explosion, no sickness. We ran tests. It didn't react. Until one of our engineers was hurt during an accident. The crystal responded to him. He was bleeding. The crystal reached out and sealed the wound. We thought it was strange luck. But it kept happening. The more we interacted with it, the more it learned from us. Ivra listened closely. "You are saying it wants to help." Elaine nodded. "Or it wants to connect." Ivra asked, "Do you understand what it truly is?" Elaine looked uncertain. "No, but we believe it's not just matter. It's not just a material. It may be a form of ancient technology, or maybe a living network, like a nervous system spread across the stars. It reacts to thought, emotion, danger. It chooses when to activate. And for some reason, it has chosen us." The room fell quiet. Ivra looked out the window. Stars blinked in the sky. "Many worlds have tried to use Voidless," she said softly. "None survived. Why do you think it accepts you?" Elaine hesitated, then said, "Because we never tried to control it. We didn't force it. We didn't treat it like a weapon. We listened to it, respected it. Maybe that's why it trusts us." Ivra stood slowly. "Then I must return with your words, but I fear not everyone will listen." She was right. Back in deep space, a secret meeting was taking place. Virex and a group of warlike empires had broken away from the council. They refused to wait any longer. They had built something dangerous, an anti-Voidglass weapon, a massive cannon powered by a collapsed star core. Their plan: fire it directly at Earth's moon base and destroy the Voidglass core completely. They believed one thing: if humanity had become the center of Voidglass power, then destroying them would break the bond. The cannon was hidden on a remote asteroid. Its power was enough to shatter a planet. The countdown began. But Voidglass was already listening. On Earth, in the deep labs, the Voidglass core began to pulse again. Faster this time, sharper. It sent out a signal, not to humans, but to something else. Above Earth, in orbit, sensors picked up a strange distortion. A dark spot, shaped like a ripple in space. And then, it opened. A ship came through. Not human, not alien. Made completely of Voidglass. No one had ever seen anything like it. No engines, no heat, no weapons visible, but its presence was powerful, almost ancient. Elaine stared at the screens, heart pounding. "It's not ours," she whispered. "It's not from Earth." And as the ship hovered above the moon base, a single message was received, not in sound, not in words, but in thought. "Do not fear. You are heard. You are chosen. The others must not break the bond." Voidless had revealed its next move, and it was far from over. The Voidglass ship hovered silently above the moon base. No sound, no heat, no clear shape, It looked like a shadow carved out of space, glowing faintly with deep black light. Scientists, soldiers, and leaders watched it from every screen on Earth, unsure whether to feel fear or wonder. Dr. Elaine Kerr stood in the command center, her eyes locked on the dark vessel. "It's alive," she whispered. The ship didn't move. It didn't respond to radio signals or light pulses, but Earth's void glass core pulsed in sync with it, like a heartbeat between two living things. Then came the voice again, not through speakers, not through air, but in their minds. Calm, deep, timeless. "You are seen. You are chosen. But the bond is not safe." A general leaned forward. "What bond? With who?" There was silence. Then the voice returned, heavier this time. "Destruction is coming. From those who fear. From those who envy." The room fell cold. They knew what it meant. Back in deep space, far beyond human detection, the rogue cannon was ready. Hidden inside a hollow asteroid, it pointed at the moon. Its power core spun faster, a dying star compressed into a weapon. The warlords believed this would end everything. One blast would vaporize the void glass core, and the humans would fall. Inside their command ship, Gorik grinned. "Let's see how they like real power." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. But something happened. A strange distortion appeared near the cannon. Like space itself bending inward, the rogue engineers screamed as alarms blared. Then, black tendrils of void glass energy burst from the distortion and wrapped around the cannon. The weapon froze. The power core collapsed in on itself, becoming dark and silent. Gorak shouted, "No! Fire it! Fire!" But the ship didn't respond. Every control was dead. Lights dimmed. The walls began to darken, turning into the same strange crystal. One by one, the ships were swallowed by the growing black cloud. No noise, no fire, just silence. And when the cloud vanished, so did the entire war fleet. On Earth, satellites caught only the end, a flash of darkness, and then nothing. The void glass ship above the moon pulsed once more. "The threat is removed, but others will follow. The test has begun." Elaine stepped forward. "Test? What test?" The answer came not in words, but in visions. Flashes of ancient worlds, now gone. Civilizations that once used void glass and failed. They tried to control it, to weaponize it, to own it, and in the end, they were erased, not as punishment, but as protection. Void glass had its own will, its own purpose. The vision ended. The ship pulsed again. "You are different. You listen. You feel. You fight, not to conquer, but to survive. That is why we came." Elaine's voice shook. "What do you want from us?" A pause. Then, "To build, to heal, to rise." Suddenly, all around Earth, something began to happen. In Antarctica, void glass samples buried under the ice began to glow. On Mars, the colony's power grid surged, powered by void glass systems that had never been turned on. And in Earth's orbit, small black satellites appeared, floating silently, guarding, watching. The message was clear. Void glass was choosing Earth as its home. But not everyone agreed. Back at the Galactic Council, chaos broke out. The footage of the void glass ship and the destruction of the rogue cannon had leaked. Entire systems panicked. Some demanded war, others wanted peace, a few called for surrender. Virex, furious that his secret plan had failed, shouted, "They are now hosts of a galaxy-ending force. We must unite against them." But Colin replied calmly, "Or perhaps, they are saving us from ourselves." Elder Soreth said nothing at first. Then she looked at the stars and spoke. "They have passed the first test. The void glass came to us long ago. We failed, but the humans, they may be the last chance." One council member asked, "What if they fail too?" Sorith closed her eyes. Then none of us will remain. Back on Earth, strange things were happening. People near Voidglass items began to feel changes. A broken arm healed in hours. A blind child said she saw light. Machines powered by Voidglass ran without fuel. No pollution, no heat, just pure, quiet energy. But it came with rules. The Voidglass core began sending messages, not in words, but in code. It guided scientists to build things in specific ways. Clean ways, peaceful ways. The military was ordered not to weaponize the new gifts. Any attempt to force the technology simply failed. Machines refused to turn on. Energy would vanish. Elaine explained it best. It will help us rise, but only if we rise together. At first, some nations tried to hide Voidglass discoveries, tried to copy it, hack it, but all of them failed. In fact, when they tried, their Voidglass samples vanished, turned to dust. The message was simple. You cannot steal this. You must grow into it. So humanity began to change. Slowly, carefully. Energy was shared. Cures were found. Famine reduced. Pollution dropped. The world still had problems, but now it had a guide. And above them, the Voidglass ship waited, watching. Some said it was a guardian. Some feared it was a test. But one thing was clear. The most feared material in the galaxy had chosen the one species too stubborn, too wild, and too curious to fear it. Humanity. And the rest of the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. For the first time in history, Earth was quiet. Not because nothing was happening, but because something big was. Humanity was changing. Nations that once fought now shared power. People who feared each other now talked. All of it happened because of one thing: Voidglass. It healed, it powered, it connected. But it also watched. Above the planet, the strange black ship made of Voidglass remained still, silent, waiting. No one knew why it had stopped moving. No one knew what it wanted next. But Dr. Elaine Kerr had a feeling. She believed the ship was not just observing, it was testing. And the test wasn't over yet. In a quiet lab under the ocean, far from cities and noise, Elaine worked with a small team. They didn't build weapons. They didn't run experiments to control Voidglass. Instead, they listened to it. Voidglass didn't speak in sound. It didn't use normal language. It used patterns, shapes, pulses, and energy waves. Slowly, the team learned to understand. And now, the Voidglass was showing them something strange. A location. A system far beyond any human ship had reached before. A dark place near the edge of the galaxy. No stars nearby. Just silence. Elaine looked at the readings and frowned. It's calling us. Or showing us something dangerous. She sent the data to the United Earth Assembly. After hours of debate, a choice was made. Humanity would send a small exploration team. No weapons, just scientists, engineers, and observers. They named the mission Project Dawnlight. 5 ships were prepared. Not warships. Exploration vessels enhanced by Voidglass tech. Fast, silent, protected, not controlled by Voidglass, but guided by it. Elaine joined the mission. So did Ivra, the alien ambassador who had first come to Earth. Together, they would lead this journey to the unknown. As the ships left Earth orbit, the Voidglass ship pulsed once, and then disappeared. It didn't vanish. It jumped. Faster than any known engine. It went ahead of them, to the same dark system. The message was clear. Follow. The journey took days, then weeks. As they neared the edge of the galaxy, stars became fewer. Space grew colder. Strange signals echoed through the dark. Finally, they arrived. Nothing could have prepared them for what they saw. A massive structure floated in space, dead, broken, and ancient, made of the same black material. Voidglass, but older, worn, cracked. It looked like a city, a floating world, once alive, now cold and quiet. Elaine stared through the window. "What is this place?" Ivra answered quietly. "A graveyard." The Voigtlass ship hovered near the ruins. It pulsed again, this time brighter, more urgent. Suddenly, the human ships received a flood of data, visions, memories, not from humans, but from Voigtlass itself. They saw another species, tall, glowing, proud, creatures from 1,000 years ago. They too had discovered Voigtlass. It helped them, protected them, and for a while, they flourished. But then, they grew greedy. They tried to merge with Voigtlass, to become gods. They built this city to house living voidless minds, but the connection was forced. And when Voigtlass felt pain, it shut them out. It didn't attack. It simply stopped working. And the civilization fell. The memory ended. Silence returned. Elaine whispered, "They failed the test." And now, Voigtlass wanted humanity to see that failure, to learn from it. But just as the crew began scanning the ruins, a new signal arrived. Not from Voigtlass, not from Earth. From outside the system, a massive ship approached, nothing like they had seen before. It was made of metal, spikes, and dark red engines. It didn't hide. It roared. It was not from the Galactic Council. It was from a forgotten empire, one that had vanished long ago, destroyed when it tried to steal Voigtlass. Somehow, a piece of it survived. And now, it had returned. They called themselves the Tarn. And they had one goal: take the Voigtlass, kill the humans, finish what they started. Elaine gave the order: retreat. But it was too late. The Xarn ship fired a warning shot. One of the human ships was destroyed instantly. No remains, no debris. Ivra said, "They are not here to talk. They are here to erase us." The Voigtlass ship reacted. It didn't attack directly. Instead, it flew into the heart of the ruined city and activated something. A pulse spread across the system. The ruins came to life. Not fully, but enough. Doors opened, shields activated, lights blinked. And then, dozens of small Voigtlass drones emerged from the city. They didn't look like weapons. They looked like guards. The Xarn fired again, and the drones moved. Fast, silent, deadly. They didn't use bullets or lasers. They simply touched the enemy ship, and it began to rot. Metal cracked. Engines froze. The ship tried to escape, but was pulled apart from the inside. Within minutes, the Xarn vessel was gone. The system was quiet again. Elaine and Ivra stood on the bridge, shaken. "It showed us this place for a reason," Elaine said. "To warn us, to prepare us." Ivra nodded. "And now we know. There are others, hidden, waiting. Voigtlass is not just a gift. It is a wall, a shield against something darker." Elaine looked out into the stars. The real threat is still coming. And somewhere far beyond, in another corner of the galaxy, more red ships were waking up. The final part of the test was about to begin. The stars felt colder. After the battle with the Tarn, silence returned to the broken Voigtlass city. But it wasn't peace. It was the silence before a storm. The kind that comes when something terrible is still out there, watching. Elaine stood on the command deck of the human ship Dawnlight, staring at the void. Her team was tired, hurt. One ship gone, crew lost. And now, something even worse was coming. Voigtlass had shown them the past, a fallen empire destroyed by greed. Voigtlass had shown them the present, enemies willing to kill for power. And now, it was showing them the future. Strange pulses began to echo across their systems. Not messages, not images, but warnings, shapes of stars being swallowed, systems going dark, worlds turning silent. Whatever was behind it, it wasn't just a threat to Earth, it was a threat to everything. Ivra, the alien ambassador, said it first. The Xarn weren't the real danger, They were just a symptom. The real enemy is older, hungrier. The humans returned to Earth with the Voidglass ship leading the way. When it entered Earth's orbit, it didn't hide anymore. It made itself seen, black light shining across the sky. Every screen on the planet showed the same message: prepare, unite, or fall. Leaders met, old enemies shook hands, walls came down. It wasn't perfect. Fear still lingered, but something had changed. Humanity had seen what was coming. And now, they had no choice but to stand together. Project Unity was born. The best minds of Earth, scientists, engineers, diplomats, worked side by side with Ivra and other peaceful alien allies. With Voidglass as their guide, they built something new. A ship. Not for war. Not for conquest. For survival. The Aegis One. It was massive. A city in space, made of Voidglass and human metal. It could heal, adapt, and even think for itself. Not through AI, but through the living patterns of Voidglass. It didn't obey commands. It listened, and when it trusted, it acted. As the ship neared completion, the first real signs of the coming threat appeared. Distant stars began to vanish. At first, astronomers thought it was natural. Collapsing suns, dying systems. But then, a message arrived. Not through signals, not through sound. It came through the Voidglass itself. A deep, shaking whisper. We are the Enders, and your time is done. A massive dark fleet entered known space. No flags, no messages, just destruction. They didn't conquer planets. They emptied them. They didn't take prisoners. They erased history. Worlds that had stood for 1,000 years vanished in days. The Galactic Council called for aid. Many begged humanity to help. Some demanded they hand over the Voidglass. But humanity refused. They did not run. They did not give in. Instead, they launched Aegis One. The massive Voidglass ship, now active and awake, joined it. And for the first time, humanity and Voidglass stood together. The final battle took place near a dying star. The Enders arrived in silence. Their ships weren't like anything anyone had seen. Like moving shadows, with no edges, no light, no mercy. They fired first. Energy blasts darkened space. Waves of gravity cracked moons. But Aegis One stood firm. It shifted, changed shape, absorbed the attack. Elaine stood at the core, hands on the glowing surface of the command console. "Show them who we are," she whispered. And the Voidglass responded. It didn't fire lasers. It didn't use missiles. It sang. A deep, beautiful hum echoed across the void. Not sound, frequency. Pure energy, tuned to the minds of the attackers. It didn't destroy the Ender ships. It reached into them. And the Enders screamed. For the first time in 1,000,000 years, they felt fear. Not because of death, but because they understood. Voidglass was not a weapon. It was a mirror, and what it showed them was themselves. Empty, cruel, lifeless. They began to break apart. One by one, their ships vanished, not exploded, but unmade. And in the center of it all, humanity stood firm. Not as conquerors, not as monsters, as survivors, as protectors, as something new. The battle ended. Silence returned. But this time, it was peace. Years passed. Earth changed. War was rare now. Energy was clean. Medicine was fast. People still made mistakes, but they tried harder. Because they remembered. They remembered the fear. They remembered the cost. They remembered that they were chosen. Not because they were strong, but because they were different. In the skies, Aegis One still watched. A symbol. A guardian. A reminder. Elaine, now older, stood in a quiet garden. She looked up at the night sky, where the Voidglass stars still shimmered. A child walked beside her and asked, "Why did the Voidglass choose us?" She smiled. Because we were the only ones too stubborn to fear it. We didn't run. We asked questions. We made mistakes, but we learned. The child thought for a moment. Will the danger come back? Elaine looked at the stars, then down at the earth below. Yes, she said. Someday. The child frowned. Then what do we do? Elaine placed a hand on their shoulder. We be ready. We stay human. And we never forget. The stars above glowed softly. Void glass shimmered in the darkness. And humanity, stubborn, wild, and full of hope, was ready for whatever came next. The end.